Good evening, Anna. How are you?
Good evening, Sebastian. Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastically well. I'm still escaping the COVID virus. I'm vaccinated, but as you probably have heard in the news, the virus is everywhere. I hope you're healthy and your loved ones are healthy.
I'm lucky as well. Same for me, vaccinated and never got one.
Good, good, good.
Hope it will be the same.
Let me ask you a first question, which I ask everybody in this series of interviews of Dev Library contributors. I'd like to ask you to introduce yourself, and you have the option. You can use 3 words or 3 numbers or both, or anything else you'd like to say to explain a little bit. Who is Anna? Who are you?
Sure. So I'm a software engineer from Ukraine. I've been doing this for almost 10 years already. I'm a Google developer expert in Dart and Flutter, mentor, tech writer, conference speaker. So I'm passionate about quality software and sharing the knowledge. So perhaps these are 2 factors that led me to be where I am now.
What led you into software engineering in the first place?
I still wonder myself because since childhood I just admired mathematics, physics, and actually I chose the university by wanting to do math. And for some reason they taught us some computer science. So that's when I got to know this field and fall in love with it, and I'm doing it since then, and it's both my profession and my hobby. I'm passionate developer who can even code while sleeping.
So for you, it was a natural transition from maths and physics in school and university to computer science to working in Dart and Flutter. For those who don't know who and what is a developer expert or Google developer expert, I'll put the link in the description because this will be live on YouTube to make sure people can know more about the program. So talk to me about your journey because when you started off, I guess, as a software engineer, I'd like to understand what, again, led you to be interested in Dart as opposed to other languages, and to Flutter as opposed to maybe coding directly on Android or iOS. Any story, any anecdote which can maybe inspire others as to why you went that way versus another?
Okay, sure. In short, it's my husband to be blamed for it. But the long story is that I started as a .NET developer, being in love with C#. I still am, sorry, Dart fans. And I learned some Android development. So I loved both mobile development and C#, which naturally led me to doing Xamarin for quite a while, like 6 or 7 years. I've been doing Xamarin full-time, as well passionate and contributing to open source or writing some articles on that topics. And when the first stable version of Flutter was released, it was my husband who introduced me to this technology, which immediately caught my attention by its development experience. So the speed at which I can create functional and beautiful mobile applications is just mind-blowing.
Is this what surprised you when you started with Flutter? The fact that you can very quickly develop a beautiful looking app? Or are there other surprises, good or bad, by the way, when you started coding with Flutter?
Exactly, it is the speed and the result I get, like beautiful animations, smooth scrolling, etc. And it also was promising in terms of portability. Now we know it aims both web, 3 desktop platforms. It can be ported into cars, etc. And also it had a different concept to what I was used to, which was declarative UI, and that is just a piece of cake.
Fair enough. Any challenges that you faced when you were coding sample apps or professional apps, or when you started using Flutter? Because you make it sound it's so easy and smooth and it looks really nice, but I'm sure there must have been some difficulties or challenges, and I'm interested in also, how did you overcome these challenges? Maybe in terms of support you got from the community or documentation. Are there any challenges that you remember or that you're facing today?
Of course they are, and surprisingly they are not really technical, but Flutter is relatively new technology, and same is for the community. So there are quite few established practices or commonly used approaches. It's rather an ever-changing field of experiments. And state management, animations, code generation, these are all hot topics with plenty of different opinions on those. In addition, Flutter is a very simple framework, so there are folks who are only learning programming through Flutter. And as a result, I saw not that many production-ready projects that were in a good shape in terms of code quality, maintainability, test coverage. And well, it's only time and contributions to the community that can help overcome this challenge. And we are doing a pretty good job, I must admit.
Got it. You submitted a number of content pieces to the Google Dev Library. 2 of those got selected. One is a blog post and one is a GitHub repo. I'd like you to talk a little bit about that GitHub repo because, if I'm not mistaken, you've titled it Space Launches, and it's a mobile app which displays a list of all the upcoming space missions, the space mission launches. If I'm not incorrect, can you describe a little bit what it does? Maybe I'll show something live as you speak when I do the edit, but explain to us what it does and what gave the idea to you to create something like this about space missions, or are you going to tell me you're an astronaut as well?
That's quite an interesting history. So I am part of Flutteristas community. You might have heard of it. It's a community for women and non-binary folks who have interest in Flutter. And last year in April we had the first Flutteristas conference where our community members were invited to speak, and everyone in the world was invited to the audience. And I really wanted to give a talk there. It was, by the way, my first public talk, so I was pretty nervous about that one. Well, I'm usually am nervous about public speaking. And I wanted to speak about code generation. Like, you add a package to your project, you make some setup, and then you run code generation and wait for like 1 minute, 30 seconds, I don't know. Then you do some coding and repeat the process because I wanted to highlight several products. And I needed some stories to fill in this time. So I thought, what the community might be interested in? Like, let me speak about the history of space exploration. So my presentation is divided into parts where I plug in some short stories about shuttle history, like from the first scientific fantasy books on space exploration to shuttle's mission. And to support this theme, I have developed an application that actually displays a list of space launches, and it benefits from different code generating packages. So the entire application is a highlight of how Flutter developers can leverage code generation, as well as it supports my topic, which was Code Less, Deliver More, on the Flutteristas conference.
Very nice. In terms of the data feed for the upcoming missions, where do you get it from? NASA or other?
There is an open API. I'm sure there are some links in the presentation. So basically you can request all the upcoming space launches, those that are about to happen and those that just happened. And honestly, I was so excited that while developing this application, it took me some time. So each day there are new launches happening. It's so exciting to see how the humanity progressed in space exploration.
Your talk, was it recorded? Is it on YouTube?
Yes, it should be available on the Flutter community YouTube channel.
Excellent. So I'll try to find the link, or you can send it to me and I'll put it in the description as well so people can find out about it. Now that you've teased everyone about your presentation, I'll make sure to include it and share it with everybody. Can I ask you a question around what would be your best advice when it comes to people who want to start with computer science? You talked about your own journey. What would be the advice that you give to others when they start on their journey learning computer science and evolving in that field?
My advice would be the same as it was for myself, like follow your passion. This way you will never have troubles overcoming the struggles that software engineering might bring into your life.
What excites you going forward? Are there any specific versions of Flutter or features of Flutter or other things that you're excited about, or even other areas, Google technologies that you haven't played with yet and that you are interested to try and code with?
As for Flutter, it's exciting to see how it evolves, how it conquers new platforms, delivers new features, yet still remaining so performant, yet keeping up this magnificent developer experience with hot restart. How the community around Flutter is supportive and providing the help, advices, resources needed for developers to evolve. And as for other Google technologies, I honestly admire Firebase products and the way they play nicely with Flutter. I love to see that there are like Firebase and Flutter are topics that go together really often in the community.
Excellent. Any final few words? Any words you'd like to share with fellow developers out there in the world?
I'd say it's sharing. Like sharing my knowledge led me to be where I am now. Sharing our common knowledge through open source helped us build this beautiful community. It is helping us building beautiful products on a daily basis. So sharing can have different forms and shapes, and also sometimes you might think, well, nobody cares what you have to share. That is not true. Believe me, I've been there. And please feel encouraged and empowered to share, and we'll also be waiting what you have to share.
If there is one common thread among all of you who have contributed to Dev Library, it's really this desire, this motivation, this passion to share the knowledge and make other people successful beyond yourselves. So I want to thank you for that, but I also want to thank you for speaking in English with me, because obviously it's not your native language. It's not my native language either, but I don't speak Ukrainian, I'm sorry. So thank you for taking the trouble, and thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you, Sebastian, for having me.